This is honestly so disappointing, something I really wasn't expecting to see. As some of you know, I've been sick for a few days, taking a break from Star Wars stuff, come back, and I'm met with this.
No! God, please, no!
Hey everyone, it's Andrew. So some of you might have heard the bad news for Star Wars games over the past few days, a cancelled Star Wars DLC for a game that people had already bought, which is where the real problem here is. Okay, first of all, let me take you back to May 28th, 2022. Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords was announced for the Nintendo Switch, the old classic Star Wars game coming to the Switch for the first time. And alongside this was also the announcement of the restored content DLC, which is what has just been cancelled. For those of you who don't know or haven't played Knights of the Old Republic 2, development on Knights of the Old Republic 2 started basically just after the release of Knights of the Old Republic 1, which came out on July 16th, 2003. Kotor 2 originally released on December 6, 2004, meaning the developers had basically just over a year to get this game out the door. And when it released, even though the story and gameplay were unreal, highly praised, and a worthy sequel to the original, the game felt rushed. It was full of bugs, errors, glitches. It wasn't actually until years and years later when the community got together and created the Sith Lords Restored Content mod that fixed a lot of the game's issues and brought a lot of content into the game that was supposed to release at launch, way back in 2004. This is what people call the final cut of KOTOR 2, with the ultimate goal being making the experience of playing KOTOR 2 as close as possible to what Obsidian originally intended. And this DLC is the version of the game Aspyr were advertising would be released sometime after launch. The studio basically promised a complete version of the game with the additional DLC, with the additional story elements, and with all the bug fixes, and then cancelled it. In their official statement, they said, "Update on the restored content DLC. We'd like to thank the KOTOR community for their immense passion and support for the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic series. That passion allowed us to bring this timeless series to the Nintendo Switch, and we are forever grateful. Sadly, today we are announcing that the restored content DLC for the Nintendo Switch version of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, will not be moving forward for release." Okay, so they've cancelled the DLC, but this next part is where people got really frustrated. "We'd like to thank everyone for their continued support by providing a complimentary video game key to players that purchase Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 The Sith Lords on Nintendo Switch before this announcement. Players may pick a replacement key from the following list." They're basically giving you a free game if you already bought this game, knowing that you were going to eventually be getting the DLC. I know a lot of people decided to buy KOTOR 2 on Switch because they knew eventually this DLC would be releasing. The studio literally advertised this DLC as part of the promise of purchasing this game. A game that is, what, 15, 20 years old. So they got people's purchases, they took your money, and then decided to cancel the thing. I don't think it's out of their control. I'm not really one to say bad things about Star Wars games. I like Star Wars games. I want more Star Wars games, even if they're average ones. Even if they're ones that are from 20 years ago. I'm happy to see re-releases, and I've actually played a bunch of the other Aspyr re-releases they've done. The ports for PS4, Star Wars Racer port I thought was amazing. I also played through Republic Commando a couple times, and I've really enjoyed seeing these classic Star Wars games come back to life. That said, I really don't think they're doing enough to make up for this complete blunder. They're only offering you one free game, and it's a game you've probably already played. All of the games on the list, what have they got? Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords on Steam, which does actually come with the DLC. You can easily download the restored content. And then we've got Knights of the Old Republic 1 on Nintendo Switch, and the rest of these games on Switch. Force Unleashed, I'm sure everyone's played. Republic Commando came out a few years ago. A lot of you probably already played. Episode 1, Star Wars Racer, everyone's already played that as well. And then Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast. I think it'd be fair to give you a few free codes, or even make all of these games free for players who had previously purchased this, because the thing is as well, it's not like it's the entire Star Wars fan base that's purchased this. It's dedicated customers, Star Wars fans who wanted to play Knights of the Old Republic 2 with the DLC on Switch specifically. Why not just give them all of the Star Wars games on Switch for free? For a game that launched basically 20 years ago with development problems and now also experiencing similar issues is super disappointing, especially for Star Wars. Hate seeing cancelled Star Wars games, hate seeing cancelled Star Wars DLC, which also brings me to what's happening with the Knights of the Old Republic remake. As you probably know, that was originally being developed by Aspyr Media, the same company who are potentially responsible for this blunder. However, after Embracer Group took over Aspyr Media, they decided to take the KOTOR remake away from Aspyr and give it to Saber Interactive, another development studio that falls under their umbrella. That said, that game is now in development limbo. No one knows what's happening with it. And in a recent earnings call, when asked about the game, the CEO of Embracer Group said no comment, exasperatedly, like he didn't want to talk about it. We have no idea if that game is ever going to see the light of day, if the Kotor remake will ever happen. We know, I'm pretty sure it was leaked a few weeks ago, that it's still in very early development, so it's probably going to be another 5+ years before we ever see that thing, if we ever see that thing.
How can you do this? It's unfair.
But what makes this entire thing even worse, something I think I should let you guys know, is that when Kotor 2 re-released on Switch, for a lot of players, the game was unfinishable. There was some bug in the game that prevented you from progressing, meaning the developers released a broken product. This thing has been through hell. In 2004, the game originally launched with issues. Then the re-release on Switch also is uncompletable, and now you're saying you're canceling promised content that was supposed to come to the game that I know a lot of people purchased the game to try and play. Disappointing. I will say, at least the Kotor 2 cancelled DLC isn't DLC for a new major release. That would be super disappointing, almost like the cancellation of Star Wars Battlefront 2, or the cancellation of Battlefront 3 even being in development, the old ones I mean. But this just seems like more bad news from Aspyr. The fact they're not working on the Kotor remake anymore, the fact they're cancelling DLC, I'm assuming this was because of some legal issue from Lucasfilm's part, potentially from Disney, potentially from Nintendo even. Who knows? There was clearly something that went wrong with trying to release this content that is basically community made. The developers are just trying to release a mod as part of the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Maybe there's a legal issue around that. Not really sure. Clearly, the developers don't want to be canceling projects like this, DLCs, and I'm not even going to go ahead and blame them. It seems like there was some legal barrier that prevented them from releasing this. I don't think you can say it's Aspyr's fault unless their lawyers somehow screwed something up. But no development studio wants to not release content, especially when the content is basically already done. It's a pre-existing mod. It's not like they're working on the mod. It exists. It's a thing. You can play it on PC. Why not just release it? Has to be a legal issue. Not sure. Please let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. Do you think we'll ever end up seeing this? Do you think they'll reverse this? Do you think they'll do more to get the community back on their side, to not anger fans who purchased this game and made them feel like the developer ran off with their money? Also guys, if you like Star Wars news content and updates, I make a lot of this kind of stuff on my Clips channel. There's daily uploads over there. Come check that out. There's a link to it down in the description. And also come follow me on Instagram, Twitter, join my Discord and TikTok for more Star Wars and more me. And also for some really interesting facts about Star Wars Jedi Survivor you might have missed, watch this video here. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew. I'll catch you soon.